Well, first of all, I think there's still time to reach a good deal, a better deal. And I think what is required is to hold firm, to increase the pressures until a better deal is achieved, one that significantly rolls back Iran's nuclear infrastructure, and one that doesn't lift the restrictions on Iran, on Iran's nuclear program, until they stop their aggression in the region.
Well, that hasn't really been decided yet, has it? The U.S. says it will be phased in. That hasn't even really been decided.
Well, it's not even been on the table, nor have ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, that they can use to propel their nuclear weapons to any part of the world, including the United States.
That's true, and so many other things, the 3 U.S. hostages, the terrorism support, you name it. Jennifer Rubin, Washington Post columnist, author of the Right Turn blog, joins us. Jennifer, your piece on this, as you call it correctly, a framework, not good and not a deal.
Right. Well, it's not a deal because they don't seem to agree on much of anything. The ink was not dry on the State Department's fact sheet, and that's all it is a fact sheet from the State Department before the Iranians started claiming that we were lying about what was in the, quote, framework. I don't think they've agreed on a lot of things. They haven't agreed on when the sanctions are going to phase in. They haven't agreed on the exact procedures for inspectors. They specifically said they haven't yet agreed on the possible past military dimensions of their program. So what they essentially did was take a break from this unending stream of concessions and hold a big press conference. And that's what they did last week to declare victory. We don't have agreement on much of what matters, but what is there, which frankly would be the best case scenario at this point, that's the best we could hope to achieve, is awful for all the reasons that Prime Minister Netanyahu and many of the members of Congress have outlined. Everything from maintaining an underground hardened nuclear facility at Fordo to a complete exclusion of their ICBM program from the discussions to, frankly, the number of centrifuges. They do not need 6,000 centrifuges for a peaceful medical program, rather, nor do they need what's in essence a bomb-making machine, which is their heavy water plutonium facility called Iraq. These are things that are simply one concession after another. There is no explanation other than the fact that the president is so desperate for a deal, he is willing to give them anything they ask for.
All right, let's move on. Another piece that you wrote today at your blog at the Washington Post is about Rand Paul. Of course, he put out a video. He's now saying that he's announcing tomorrow, and you believe that he's got some problems, including the timing.
Yeah, we've just come through a few days in which the intense focus has been on how inadequate this president is in dealing with the world's threats. Well, the Republican hopeful who is the closest to him is, of course, Rand Paul. He has opposed the Menendez-Kirk sanctions bill, just as the president did. He's talked about containment. He's talked about ending all foreign aid, which would include Israel. He has distinguished himself as someone who is running against a traditional hard Republican foreign policy. He really, at this point, is terribly out of step with the country, and particularly with Republicans, and even more particularly with this field of Republican candidates who are all, to one degree or another, very tough on the president, very much opposed to this sort of deal, very much in tune with the notion that we need to wage a global war against the Islamic jihadists. And he just has a different view of the world and of what he thinks America should be doing. So even if his record were otherwise distinguished, and he really is a guy who's essentially a freshman Republican senator, not unlike President Obama running for office, I think his positions on national security at this point are just make him an untenable candidate. The issue is too important now. It's too central in the discussion. It's going to be too critical in terms of debunking and dismantling Hillary Clinton's record, that he's just not the right guy at the right time for the Republican Party.
Jennifer, you've written, and we've talked about this, you seem to like Rick Perry, and you talk about the fact that he's going to be delivering a speech kind of fit for a president at the Citadel.
Correct. There are many candidates who I think I've been impressed with on foreign policy, but he really does today, I think, deliver with all barrels. It's a very serious, grown-up speech about we have to realize what we're dealing with. We have to realize what we're dealing with in Iran, what we're dealing with in terms of the Islamic threat, what it will require in terms of our defense budget. Very sober. It's not chest beating. It's not partisan. It's very mature and very, I think, effective in
Jennifer,
conveying how far we've gotten off track.
Appreciate hearing from you. Always good to talk to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jennifer Rubin. All right, folks, up next, hotair.com Associate Editor Noah Rothman. But first, we're going to be bringing back our viewer call-in segment right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So if you love the show or you have a suggestion, you want to weigh in on the issues of the day here on Newsmax TV, here's your chance. You call me at, you email me at callsteve@newsmax.com. That's callsteve@newsmax.com. Include your name, phone number, location. We'll get back to you. Again, call Steve at newsmax.com. We want to hear from you.